Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of the Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, the Report of the Week. Thank you for checking in. The evolution. It finally happened. You know the phrase, "This is what you've been waiting for," right? I know we've all heard that. We've heard it used in a good number of instances, I'm certain. And sometimes there are those cases where you have the hype that's being built up and they say, "This is the moment of truth. This is what you've been waiting for." And then it really doesn't amount to anything, or it's not anything extreme or serious. But then there are those instances where the hype is real, and the hype really pays off. And you think, this may be the zenith of my existence right here. This might be the best my life is ever going to get. And I think this is one of those moments. Because like I said, the evolution, or evolution as they say, of the chicken sandwich has commenced. Burger King said, "I know last year we made this whole big deal about chicken sandwiches, and how we redid our chicken sandwich, and how now it's the Chicken Sandwich. We'll pretend that never happened, and ignore everything we've said, because we got rid of that stupid Chicken Sandwich." Do you feel it? I don't, but that's why I'm asking you. They've replaced it with the Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich. So you might say, all right, Burger King has new chicken sandwiches out, now they're the Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwiches, so what's so special about them? They have royal sauce on them. And they have lettuce. And they have these red things that they call tomatoes on them too. And it's on a potato bun. So that's what it is. Again, it's a crispy chicken filet with royal sauce, lettuce, tomato on a potato bun. It replaces the Chicken Sandwich, so that's gone. And price for this, $5.50 per sandwich, around $10 for a meal, which would include fries and a drink. So again, it's a $5.50 sandwich, what they would consider to be a premium chicken sandwich. The Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich from Burger King is out. So, given the name, and given the campaign that they've released along with this to promote these sandwiches, I would say that it's really one of two possibilities here. A, this is going to be food that's fit for royalty. Or B, they gave it this name so you can feel better about yourself when you buy and eat this, when you realize how bad it is. So it's going to be one of those two things, most likely, because that's how Burger King is. Usually it's hit or miss. And sometimes they get some really good stuff, sometimes it's iffy. Comes in a few other varieties, like you can get a spicy version and you can get the deluxe, but really it's all built on top of this main base. So this would be what determines the quality of the sandwich. But people, they still like their chicken sandwiches. I was trying to get my hands on the new sandwich from Wingstop the other day. Sadly, I haven't been able to find it yet, but I saw Burger King release these chicken sandwiches, so it's worth trying out. All right. So there it is. A basic chicken sandwich, but maybe they're just relying on the basics, and it might be good. You could see the tomatoes right there, 2 tomatoes. The crispy chicken filet. The bun and the lettuce. And that's the royal sauce. Hope you get a good view of the sandwich right there. So you know what it looks like. I know what it looks like. We all know what it looks like. So now I'm going to try it out. The Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich from Burger King going in. All right. So obviously you were able to see a bit of the consumption sequence there. And here's the thing with this sandwich. This is what I notice. Now, I know earlier in the video I was kind of saying, all right, the way Burger King usually is, it oftentimes can either be really good or really bad, and sometimes there is that middle ground, but oftentimes it's just one or the other. This is one of those instances, though, where this is more of like a middle-of-the-road type of sandwich. Would I say that the Royal name for it necessarily suits it? I don't think so. But have there been worse sandwiches? Absolutely. Now, this is a very simple sandwich, so obviously when you're consuming this, there aren't a ton of notes to be on the lookout for. So it's reliant on the basics: the chicken, the lettuce, the tomato, the sauce, and the bun. Now, as you saw in the cross-section, and I'll just show you again real quick, you can see that there is that layer of the crispy breading on the outside of the sandwich, and then on the interior, you have the chicken. And I would say the ratio between the breading and the chicken is pretty decent. I can't really complain there in that regard. Now, what I can say, though, is that there aren't a lot of notes on this sandwich that are overly flavorful. For instance, the chicken in and of itself is probably what I can taste the most. And what it really tastes like, all right, you could taste the juiciness of the meat. It is fairly flavorful. I've definitely had chicken fillets that are richer in flavor than this one, but at least it has something to it. It's very fatty, and I think that has to do with the fried breading on the exterior. It's very fatty, has a little bit of a crunch to it, but I just get this really oily and fatty taste to it, and it's very salty as well. None of this necessarily to excess. It's kind of close to that threshold, but just barely below it. So it may not taste overly or excessively fatty or salty. It's just those are notes that you are definitely going to pick up on. The tomato and the lettuce, surprisingly, they don't really do much to negate that either. There are those instances where you'll have something that's really greasy and oily, but then you have the lettuce and the tomato on it, which cancels that out a little bit. But in this case, even though the tomatoes, as you probably saw, they're pretty fresh and juicy, but they don't necessarily negate that excessive, or that somewhat excessive, greasiness and oiliness of the chicken. And that again, very high sodium level, I'd presume, or at least all the saltiness I could taste in the chicken. So definitely, it's kind of what you would expect from fast food, maybe lower end fast food, to be honest. It's totally edible, but certainly it has these things about it that you're going to notice. Now, the final thing to talk about here is the royal sauce. Does that save the day? Does it salvage everything? Does it tie everything together? What's there to really say about the royal sauce? Not much, surprisingly. Even though when I was looking at this and showing it to the camera, you couldn't necessarily see a ton of that royal sauce on the sandwich. There's a little bit more than you'd initially think because it's on the top bun and it's also underneath some of the lettuce there. But the royal sauce is like a glorified ranch dressing, I would say. they give it a fancy name, obviously, and it makes you think, oh, it's the royal sauce. This is something big, and it's a special for the sandwich. But really, the royal sauce is like a glorified ranch dressing. It has this little sharpness to it. Not quite sour, not really tangy either, but definitely just this potent sharpness. I wouldn't even describe it as like a tart flavor either. It's just like a sharpness. And that's somewhat noticeable, this little almost acidic bite that it has to it. But even that kind of gets lost in everything else, especially in that chicken fillet. So the chicken is easily the most flavorful thing on this sandwich, and to be honest, that's pretty much all you could really taste. The lettuce and the tomato are kind of just there, and the sauce in and of itself, I wish it could be a little stronger. Some people like the sauce on their sandwiches, some people don't, but when this is considered a key ingredient, you do want to be able to taste it, and you want to see what does Burger King have to offer here, right? What is the royal sauce all about? And you could barely taste it. So, in and of itself, this sandwich, totally edible, totally consumable, but definitely on the low end of average, I would say. Because there could just be more to it. The chicken could be a bit better. There could be better prevailing flavors, I should say. I wish I could taste that sauce a bit more. And instead, everything just gets lost in that saltiness and that greasiness that it possesses. And that's an issue. So it's something that Burger King does need to improve upon. I think with a little bit of tweaking here, the Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich could certainly be lifted up a level or two, and could definitely improve. But as it stands, on the lower end of average, it's edible, but would you necessarily eat this and say, wow, this is a really good sandwich, I can't wait to get it again, etc.? I wouldn't, especially when you're paying $5.50 for this, and if you needed to get a drink to kind of wash it down with, then that's $10 for you. A bit overpriced in that regard. So factoring that in, factoring in the quality of the chicken sandwich, and all of that, out of 10, I'm going to be giving the Royal Crispy Chicken Sandwich from Burger King, I'm just going to give it a 4.9 out of 10. That's a 4.9 out of 10. It's not the worst, but there's definitely some room for improvement. And that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.